Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. Once again, I hope wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day it is, that you are doing well, being creative, doing the kinds of projects that you want to do. So today, I waited until the last minute because I wanted to watch the Oscars, and I wanted to, well, in a way, kind of report back on them if you hadn't seen them. But I really just wanted to talk about award shows in general, like the need to televise them, the what purpose do they serve to the general public, and after seeing this year's Oscars, I have to say that it was a lot better than I was expecting. It felt very cohesive. It felt like they were giving a lot more tribute to the past and wanting to honor the films that had come before, and to honor those who had passed away, and really just to call out certain people who have contributed a lot to the film industry over the years, and I appreciated that entire angle that they had, because I think they all know that it's been a rough couple years, and I actually came across an article today that basically stated that since the Best Picture nominations came out, each film collectively, not individually, all together, had earned just $10 million. And that is just insane to think about. I mean, considering that just an opening weekend for a movie in general, 10 million is a complete flop. It's dead on arrival. So to have all of those films collectively only earn that much since the announcement, I think they said it was February 8th was the announcement of the Best Picture. Just it was just I just couldn't believe it. But then when I read the article, I obviously they bring up the fact that there was a lot, some of these films were made by, or at least distributed by, Netflix or Apple TV, and that the time that they spent in the theater was actually not a lot of time. So any money that was made off of that box office was very low, and then it would get pushed back onto a streaming site where people, I'm sure the numbers might have been good in terms of people who had watched it, especially if they were trying to prepare to watch the Oscars. But just in terms of the box office that was earned off of these films, it's just it was just such a low number that I had to read the article just to see what was causing this. So after having seen the Oscars, the Oscars ended about 10 minutes ago or so, and I have to say, I really enjoyed myself. There was the obvious, somebody talking about a cause, and just the calling out certain issues, which wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be. They actually kept it pretty sparse, because as much as I know that the Oscars is a platform for people to express what they believe in, and want to call out certain things, and really try to get some support around certain issues that they care about. ultimately, it's supposed to be a party celebrating film, celebrating the creation of film. And even though, films can express, certain points of view on issues in the world, it's, it just seems like really out of place. And there were, some times when, like, even the hosts would talk about certain things, and, I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do I expect? Like, somebody's going to talk about something that's happening in the world, and it is what it is. So anyway, so do we actually need to televise award shows? And I'm still kind of on the fence about it, because this one in particular, like I said, I really enjoyed, because they honored the past, and in a way it was a celebration because of the fact that they just opened the Academy of Arts or the Academy of Motion Pictures museum. And so they did kind of like a comedic tour of it, and just being able to see like all the memorabilia and the fact that like this place just opened and you can go there and you can see all this stuff from past films. It's like it really excited in me the movie historian, the movie buff in me, and I was like, I really would love to take a trip down there to see it, if I get a chance, because I really appreciate seeing like all of the old memorabilia, reading like the stories behind certain films. Like I love all that stuff. So the fact that it was kind of like this loose commercial about going to see the museum, I thought was really great, especially if it gets people who didn't know about it excited about film. Now, the significance of the Oscars has been waning over time. Not necessarily for those who are involved or for those who already want to be in the business, because I think we all want to find ourselves on that stage with a film that we've worked really hard on, and to be able to, it's the biggest prize that you could get, essentially, apart from just having a box office return that you could say you got into the $1 billion club or the multi-billion-dollar club. Like, that's something that you can pretty much hang your hat on. But yeah, I think there's still this romanticized part of me that would love to see the Oscars still around, to have them televised, to be able to have my friends and family see me on the stage accepting an award. But that's obviously something that is, like, that's my narcissism basically coming out, where I'm like, yeah, I would love for that to be the case. But by the time that happens, if that ever happens, who knows, like, if they're going to televise the Oscars, at all, because it might not be needed again, because of just low ratings. So apart from that, it's like, all right, what were the Oscars meant to be in the first place? It was meant to be this celebration of the best in terms of creating film. And it seems like there hasn't been that there's been a disconnect, essentially, of really great film and cinema and the audience who's going to watch it. And so it seems like the Oscars, as much as they want regular people to watch, aren't going to watch, because the films that are being created are essentially for the people who study cinema, who are in the film industry, who would appreciate the big swings, so to speak, that are being made. And so, I talked about this before, like a couple years ago, actually, about, when you're making a film, who is your audience? Like, are you making your film for the regular blue collar guy who, or family that, they want to put on a movie for a couple hours and kind of forget about their troubles for a bit? or are you making your film because you want it to win awards? You want it to break some kind of mold, some kind of like narrative structure that is usually used, some kind of character, thing like you're doing it essentially because you want the people who know the form and study cinema to recognize what a great achievement that you are making in attempting to do what you're doing, which doesn't really apply to the regular person who's just tuning in to watch the Oscars. They might be there to see a star that they love, but now we have Instagram, we have, social media accounts where you can connect to all of these people for the most part directly. And so you kind of, you already like the whole, I guess, mystery or the anticipation of seeing these stars walk the red carpet. There's still a little bit of that there. It's cool to see some of these stars there, but you probably already saw them getting ready for the Oscars on their Instagram account or on TikTok or whatever account they may have. So that mystery is gone. And then, you get to watch the show. It may or may not be entertaining depending on who's hosting or how the bits go, because, as much as I enjoyed myself tonight, there were some bits that seemed to kind of fall flat, or they were just reminding the audience that, we're still in a world that has like conflict. We're still in a world that has, a pandemic that's, thank goodness, waning and seems to be, it seems to be going away in some respect, but we're not out of the woods yet. But it's still a topic at hand. It's still, a current topic. So, they obviously mentioned some stuff about that too, and there was a bit about that. So it's just, it can be tough to put together a show where you want to be topical, but you also want to be, you want to have jokes about certain things, and it's like, yeah, some of them hit, some of them don't, and that seems to be almost every award show anyway. It's like even if the hosts are great at what they do, there's always going to be a part where something falls apart or a bit doesn't work, and you can kind of expect that. I mean, it's a 3-hour show, and the energy drops at a certain point, or, you just like, you just kind of, you're like, okay, let's get on with the awards. Let's stop, like, have your bits at the beginning, to kind of get the energy up, but then, let's start giving out a lot of awards, because that's why we're here. Let's not, let's not spoil the flow of the show in order to have like a certain bit. But yeah, with that, I don't, like I said, I don't know if we need award shows. And I say that as somebody who has loved watching the Oscars for many, many years. Ever since I was a kid, it was a magical time. It was like a holiday for me where I could just watch, these movies that I loved, and, to watch these actors and directors and writers like win for being the best at what they do and wanting to be up on stage with them. But this year, the Golden Globes weren't televised, and that was really weird. That kind of threw off my year, because the new year comes, and then award season kind of gears up, and then I watch the Golden Globes, and that's really exciting, and it's usually a bit looser. People are drinking, the jokes are a bit edgier, and then you get to kind of get a preview of who could possibly win the Oscars. And that that was the kind of the main reason for watching the Golden Globes, is that you got to have fun twice, basically. You got to watch the Golden Globes and make your predictions, and then you'd see who would win, and then from there you would say, okay, well, if they won the Golden Globe, then that means that, they're likely to win the Oscar, or maybe not, or, like there was this month or two where you got to really be excited about who was going to win. But we didn't get that this year. We just got, hey, Golden Globes are canceled into like the televised, it's not going to be televised. So all of that kind of happened online on Twitter. You see the list of who won, and then you're like, oh, well, that's okay. That's great. But then you quickly forgot about it because it's Twitter and it's online, and you got other things to do. And there's no like moments that you can really latch onto to kind of remember who won, or like, if the show was fun or not. You have no frame of reference because it's, it's just behind a news report of like, well, here's who won. And then all of a sudden the Oscar nominations came out, and it's like, oh, okay, that's great. Let's who's up for a nomination? Oh, okay. Some movies I had no idea what they were, and I had to go find them and watch them. Other ones I was aware about, and I just, had to either I watched them, or I was like, well, now I can watch them now because they're up for an Oscar. But then, some time goes by. I mean, like I said, it was in February that we got this, the announcement. And now it's like almost the end of March. And so like a full month has pretty much gone by, or a month and a half. So a lot of time has gone by. And now, we have the show, and, there were announcements about categories that they weren't going to be televising, that they did like a pre-show award for, and that was a controversy. And then, the three hosts that they announced, it was like, well, I'm not too excited about who's going to be hosting. Not to say that they're not going to be good, because they could, they could come out of left field and completely like, do an awesome job, which they did a fine job. They had some jokes that were pretty funny. They had a couple bits that were funny, but for the most part, it after the show was over, I kind of thought they were kind of invisible in a lot of ways. Like they didn't show up that much during the show. And when they did, they made sure that that they were, that they were doing something that you could remember, that, they had a reason for them to come on stage. But for the most part, it's like, since they had three of them, they kind of cycled through. So it wasn't all three of them at the same time. It was just one person would show up to, like, Amy Schumer would show up to do one bit, and then Regina King would show up, or Regina Hall would show up to do another bit, and then Wanda Sykes would show up to do another bit, and so they would kind of cycle that way, which I thought was a good idea. It made sure that, like, the style of comedy was different every single time. They would show up, so it kind of kept things moving and different as the show went on. But yeah, so there was all this kind of like little bit of news and controversy happening, and so when today, when it was time to watch the Oscars, I wasn't that excited. I to be honest, I was like, the movies that I saw, like, they were pretty good, but nothing really got me excited. There were some actors that I was really excited about. There were some actresses I was really excited about, and so I wanted to see if they were going to win. But for the most part, I was like, I could easily just not watch it and still be okay with that. But I was like, I might as well watch it, because I am curious about how this whole show is going to come together, how it's going to be, and I'm glad I tuned in to watch it because, there were some really great moments, both good and bad. I don't want to go into it because you've probably already, seen it on Twitter or wherever, you're getting your news. There were some big moments that happened, that, people are going to be talking about throughout this week. So, apart from that, it felt like it was a step up from last year, obviously, and a bit of a step up from some years past as well. So I hope they're going in the right direction. I hope that they're re-energizing the interest in the general public to watch the Oscars, to want to watch award shows again, because I think that's part of celebrating celebrating what we all want to do. So celebrating film, and, the more that we kind of put it out into the public, and the more that, we're people who are doing a job. And yeah, we get to kind of dress up and have pictures taken of us and get to accept awards and, during these televised, events. And so it's very easy for, the everyday Joe to kind of look at that and say, well, I bust my ass every single day and nobody gives me an award. Nobody takes a picture of me. Nobody, televises my name or puts me in the paper or anything. I'm not on it. Nobody writes articles about me. I just do my job and then I go home. And so it's very easy, for everybody else to kind of look at Hollywood and say, well, yeah, I mean, from the outside, I'm sure they look at them and say, you don't work nearly as hard as I do. But, as we all know, if you've been on a film set, you work long hours, you bust your ass trying to make something that is kind of defies reality, defies all logic in a lot of ways, defies the real world, because you're basically trying to recreate reality in reality. And that is the toughest thing to do, because reality does not care that you're trying to make a film. If anything, reality and, the universe, or whatever you want to say, something switches on when you're trying to do something creative. There's roadblocks that just pop up everywhere, out of nowhere. Seemingly they could not be a problem for most of, the time that you are trying to put this thing together. And then the one day you need it to work, it won't work. And that's just the way, that's just how filmmaking is. Something happens in the energy of the world. I'm getting very philosophical and mumbo jumbo kind of thing, but there's something that happens when you decide to do something, when you decide to make something, that all of a sudden every challenge and roadblock that you can imagine suddenly happens and suddenly pops up. And every single time I try to make something, that's what happens. So, I have a lot of respect for all of the films that get made, for the ones that are good, that actually, are able to win Oscars or get nominated, because it's a tough road. It's very hard to make a movie. And, as much as it seems like it's very easy to make a movie, you just get some actors together, you have a script, you turn the camera on, you just film them doing something, and then you take all that footage, you put it onto a computer, you cut it together, you put some sound effects, you put some music, voila, you graphics, what have you, titles, there you have a movie. But, to make a good movie is a very hard thing to do. And the fact that, they're able to do that, I think they haven't done enough to really, talk to everyday people and say, hey, we work just as hard as you do, and what we're trying to do is really impossible. And also, it's not that we're trying to do it for our own vanity. We're doing it because we want to entertain you. We're doing it because we know that you guys work very hard, and we want to give you something that you can take your hard-earned money and spend it and take your family to see a movie, or to watch a movie that's interesting, or that, is thought-provoking or something. But, will entertain you because we're the entertainment business. And so when it comes to these award shows, it's like, it seemed like tonight we got back to being somewhat entertaining, and now it's like, okay, can we keep going with this? Can we stop turning it into something political and stop turning it into like, I was already seeing articles about like, well, the such and such amount of like women weren't nominated or such, and it was just like, the general public doesn't care about that. I know that like inside the industry, it's very important. It's very inside baseball. Like, yes, we're trying to get the numbers up in terms of the people who are nominated and the amount of opportunities that are there for various people of the world to make films. But that stuff should remain inside baseball. Should remain as something that the people inside the industry know about and are trying to fix, and not trying to like put it out into the world as like, well, this is a problem, because let's face it, the rest of the world doesn't really care that much. Like I mean, that's my assumption, that they don't care, but it's like, yeah, that's a problem that's for the industry to solve. It's not for anybody else to like to really care about, because it's not their place to care. Like, they just want to see a good movie, and if it's diverse, great. If it's not diverse, I mean, who cares? Is it a good story? Does it tell something about the human condition? Does it is it something that can be put up as a the best of the best in cinema? Like that's really what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to make the best of the best. We're trying to hone our craft so that we are the best of the best. And so, all this other stuff, as it is important, it's like the primary goal is to be the best at what we do, and to help others be the best that they can be in the industry as well. So I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but I think when regular people see that that's the attitude of the industry, especially since the industry wants to be so public about what is happening inside the industry, I think a lot more people will turn around and actually empathize with Hollywood and want to support Hollywood and want to give Hollywood as, like money to make more stuff, but it's like, but if it seems like Hollywood is always against the general public, then the general public is like, well, we have the money. We don't have to give it to you. We can give it to other people. We can give it to other things that we actually care about. And we could basically walk away from movies if we want to, because movies are just something that entertains us, and we can find something else. So, kind of getting back to, what I was about, just, do we need award shows? I think we do. I think it's important as just a collective event that all of us can kind of like, especially if you love film, can kind of coalesce around, and to, kind of be a way in which like it gives us an excuse to go and watch movies, and especially if it's movies that are claimed to be the best of the best, and that can be debated in so many ways. Like, there's so many times when a movie is nominated or an actor is nominated, and you can debate that all you want, because it's going to happen every year. But the general part of it is just being able to have an excuse to see all these films, so that we can come together and really celebrate what was made that year, and to get back to that attitude of celebration, to get back to that attitude of like, okay, we did great this year, let's do even better next year, and let's do even better next year, and have it be more of a positive event than it is a shaming event, which it seems like it's been for the last couple of years, where it's just like, Hollywood has been shaming the general public, or shaming itself for not being inclusive enough, or not having more diversity and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, like, still, fight that good fight of like trying to get as many different people in the industry. And there are lots of diverse people in the industry already. Like it's kind of like, if you're looking for an image, it's kind of like we're a traveling circus in a lot of ways. Like there's so many different people who are in film. And, you don't see, like, the general public doesn't see all of them, but it's like they're there. Like, there's so many people out there, so many different people out there who are involved in making a film. So, anyway, so what do you guys think? I really want to see the award show stick around. I think it's needed just as a collective event that movie lovers can watch and talk about and debate about and just if they go away, then it's like, well, what, like we already are divided in terms of like I didn't watch all the movies this year, and that's because they're on different streaming sites. And it's like, well, that really sucked because there were some films that I really wanted to see. And I'm like, well, I don't have that streaming site, so I guess I'm not seeing it, or I have to like wait until I can get it on DVD or rent it somewhere. I don't know. So it just, yeah, we're already kind of divided as an audience. Not everybody's watching what's out there, and so to have award shows kind of focuses everybody's attention on a collection of work that's considered to be really great, and that we can all watch it and all kind of like celebrate together what's good and what's and maybe that like not everybody's gonna win, but at least like to celebrate the nominees and to promote the really great stuff that's out there. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for listening. You can send me an email. You can find me on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. I know the last couple of weeks I haven't been doing a live stream. I've been really bad about that. It's something that I know I want to do more of, but I just got to get my shit together in terms of just making sure that I show up for these streams and making sure that I have things to talk about and that I'm just there. So that, you guys, if you guys have questions, I can answer them in real time. All right. That's all I got for today. I'll talk to you on the next one. If you'd like to connect with me, there is an email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast @gmail.com. There's also a Twitter account. The handle is @title_Tim. There's also a Facebook page where you can post questions, or you can connect with me there. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you on the next one.